Hi. We've had something new and shiny arrive in the world in the last week, and I thought I ought to do a little bit of words about it. Tamiya have brought to market their new CB1000F. This is an all-new kit, and as with all Tamiya motorcycles, it's beautiful. I haven't actually had the sprues out of the bag, so I thought I'd do a little bit of kind of an unboxing video, have a chat about some of the design choices and options in the kit, and upload it to my YouTube. So here we go. So this is the kit. We covered this briefly on the Interesting Modelling Company as a future release a little while ago, and it is now here. This is what I like about Tamiya. They announced this probably 2 months ago, maybe a little bit before that, and it's now on the shelves. None of this 2-year waits and things like that. Yes, Nuno, I'm looking at you. But they always seem to get it right. They develop the product, they get to the point where it's ready to be released, they tell everybody it's coming, and it's with us in days, weeks, months, not years and long waits. And that is why I'm a big fan of theirs, because they just get it right. This box art is typically Tamiya. It's very simple. It is obviously a piece of art, not a photograph of the real bike, but it gets the feeling for the real thing. This is a very new bike in the world. You know, this is their Honda's flagship Tourer at the minute. Usual optional stuff, paint options on the side. It does clearly say 2026 Tamiya. Interesting, it goes straight to made in Philippines here, so they've obviously outsourced their new production over there as well now, I notice. And it's an official Honda licensed product. There we go. So let's have a little look in the box, shall we? As is always the way, it's a well-filled box. It's not tack-on well-filled, but it's well-filled. So we'll start with some instructions, and then we'll bring other bits and pieces in as we go. So obviously, as is always the way with these kits nowadays, you get the vehicle description on an additional sheet in English, German, French, Japanese, with some nice photographs of the built-up model. Which it's let's have a quick look at that, a bit close up. There you go. Look, it does look well, actually. It does really look well. Some nice detailed photographs, because if you're ever struggling, always have a look at the pictures, because there's going to be the answers on there. They're very good at that. Very good at that. On here we have painting instructions or decal instructions in here, and it shows the 3 liveries that are in the kit. The decal sheet covers all of these, so you've got silver with the 2 blues scripts, silver with the grey and dark grey silver kind of livery. I quite like that one. I've actually seen that on the real bike, and it does look really nice. There's a black one, gloss black with silver with red pinstripe. Now, and at the bottom there's one here, option D in the box. This grade is only planned for sale in Japan. There are extra bits in the box for this version. Now, all 3 of these are shown as having the optional cowling front, and the decals are provided for the black one in particular for that. But it's shown on the this Japanese version. Apparently that only comes with the fairing on it as standard. So that's an interesting variation. But they've called that out quite nicely. Yeah, they're always nice, aren't they, these? Always nice. In the box we then have the full instruction sheet. Typically Tamiya again. It seems to have got longer. It doesn't quite fit on the screen in one go. That's interesting. I've not seen that before, realised that before. So, usual stuff, cautions, paint colour outs. All the paint colour outs are in lacquer plus on this one, which is different to the Prelude, which I also have at the minute. There's some colour call outs in acrylic. I'm not sure if that's an either or a instead of, but I will work through that as I go along. Usual stuff, recommended tools. We have a very interesting layout here. Notice, choose from 4 marking options. So it's telling you to choose as you go. And it does very clearly say, choose one option from A to D on this page, follow the relevant instructions in this manual. On the full-size bike, only D has a headlight cowling. So that contradicts that sheet. So are they saying that these are wrong? These aren't right? I don't get that. But why would you provide a decal then for the black one? So unless the equipment level on this bike is Japanese market only and you can still have it in the 3 liveries, I think that might be the answer. Instruction above calls for a coat of LP5 when it has dried a top coat of X26. Well, that's satin black with a top coat of clear orange. I think that's the front forks. Let's have a little look. No, they're gloss black. Interesting. No doubt that's going to show up later on. So try and work out what that's about. LP. There's a colour mix as well there. LP5 plus LP40. That's satin black. Yeah, and metallic black. All right. Okay, that's an interesting one. So that's a very, very minor metallic tint black satin. That's the engine block. Yeah. So, as is often the way with Tamiya, they start with the engine, attach parts in numbered order. Okay, well, that looks like that could be twiddly. That one. It's a bit of a twist and fit. Cross bracing for inside the engine block to keep the spacing right. Things like those. Typically Tamiya instructions telling you how to remove the moulding tags on the various parts, whether moulded on the reverse. Texture on some of these parts as well, I noticed that. Decals for the oil filter. Still trying to work out where that LP5X26 mix is, so that's going to show up somewhere further down the instructions, I'm sure of it. There's always a motorbike or an aeroplane when I'm doing these. I do apologise. That off carbony black colour is on the frame as well. It's a nice. This is a typically Tamiya kit. You know, the assembly is simple, but detailed enough to allow you to make a really nice model from it. There's some very explicit instructions on how to install the engine into the frame. It does still use screws, but remembering what we've said previously on the show, now we have little plastic caps to go over the screw heads to hide them in the frame so they look like the proper bolt heads. That's an improvement over historic kits. Usual stuff for the shock absorber damper with the poly caps and the 2-part assembly that you can then paint before you assemble it. That's nice. Just really nicely done. Multi-part trailing arm. Again, that's in that metallic black mix. Those are the wheels. one nice touch is there's masks in this, so you paint your brake discs in a bright silver. In this case they're using LP48, which is sparkling silver, which we know is near to chrome, and then you're masking over the discs and spraying the centers with satin black and picking out your bolt heads with some X11 for detail. The brake caliper assemblies, typical Tamiya, two-part chain with a multi-part front drive, or rear drive, sorry, cog. That's quite nice, that's unusual. Rear hugger is black. Someone said something to me about they might be carbon fibre in the real bike, and I obviously didn't get close enough to the one I saw to find that out, so I might have to do a check on that one. You know, all of this is very typically Tamiya. There's some little touches in here. No doubt when I come to assemble it, I'm going to find some bits and pieces that make me go, oh right, okay. Front of the train goes inside the sprocket cover. Ah, right, okay, they've engineered that. Yeah, so that's here. That's engineered so you don't have to worry about it pinning. The front airbox is a nice assembly. Fuel tank, I believe, yeah, we've got an underliner for the rear body. Rear lights, a nice touch. There's a red piece in the sprues, I'll show you in a minute, for the rear tail light, which goes over the silver obviously, and the rear indicators. And this is interesting. This is the rear light. So that's the reflector, the rear light. So you paint a block inside the rear light, which you've already painted black with silver. You overlay it with a clear part, and then there's a moulded red part that goes over the top, and it gives you the right effect for the rear light. Exhausts, they call them out in chrome. I'm going to come back to that in a minute, because the only criticism I have of this kit is the exhausts, and I'm going to raise that further on when I've got the screws out of the box. Comes with a stand, kickstand type system. Yeah, centre stand is optional on both the full-size bike and this model. Okay, radiator. Here's where we start to get some of the variations. So the Japanese market specific one has a chrome metal guard that goes over the front of the radiator. Seemingly from the instructions, that's not available on the European bikes. The exhaust is the radiator is a clip in to fit. It's not screwed in, it just clips into the frame. That's a nice touch. There's a cooling fan on the back of that. That's unusual. That's rather cool. Going to get through an awful lot of satin black building this model. An awful lot of satin black, and that black and metallic mix is going to be utilized, so you might as well mix a bottle of that up, I think, because you're using that an awful lot. The discs are handed as well, so do make sure you get them the right way around for the front forks. They're just here, and it does note direction of travel rather. Front fork sets. Yeah, seemingly there's not a detail upset for this, for the front forks, which is unusual actually for their current releases. Tyre directions indicated, brake disc directions indicated. Body colour, yeah. It's all very simple, but very nicely detailed, and there's a bit of snappy togethery kind of stuff going on here with respect to the headlamp and the rim. Some very nice detailing. mask for the centre of the fuel tank filler, so you paint it light gun metal and then you mask the centre out and you spray it with silver, so with a bright silver, so that's a nice little touch. That's on the masking set, so I've thought that one through. And there's masks for the headlight as well, so you can spray the surround. Notice I've still not picked up where that odd colour mix is used. So, lots of nice little details. The foot pegs are nice. And there's a decal for wrapping around one of the pegs on the shifter, I think it is, to give the correct little spotty texture. That's going to be fun. That's going to be absolutely minuscule. And here we go, down here. Okay, that's rubber black. Right, okay. So, I haven't found that colour mix black mentioned here anywhere. This is the instruction above calls for a colour in the and that's obviously the description of it, but it's not telling me where. That's going to be fun. I'll no doubt spot that at the last minute, probably just when I'm about to start assembling something and then be disappointed with myself. There you go. If anybody does spot it in the meantime, let me know in the comments please, because I'm narnered if I can find it. You'd have thought it would have shown up like a proverbial in those instructions, but it doesn't. So there's lots of that LP5 LP40 mix, but I can't find the one that's LP5 LP26. Oh, never mind, it'll come to light. But there you go, typical Tamiya instruction sheet, very nice. In the bottom of the box, as you would come to expect, we have an envelope containing decals and other little bits and bobs. We've got 2 decal sheets by the look of that. We have, so there's that mask set, so there's the one for the filler cap, that's for the front headlamp, and these are for the brake discs. We've got some nice little decals, Tamiya decals. They get a lot of flack to Tamiya for their decals, and it is unwarranted in my opinion. They look thick on the sheet, but if you use them, they often are, in majority of cases, absolutely brilliant to use. Now, however, I'm told by a couple of my Japanese friends that the answer is to use Tamiya Mark Fit decal solvents. Now, they're not very widely available in the UK. In fact, they can't be imported apparently because they don't meet the current set of UK regulations for them. If you can get them by whatever means, then I would highly recommend them, particularly if you're using Tamiya decals, as I say. So there you go. And I can almost hear various people from the hobby coach swearing at me under their breath. They really do need to get them certified into the UK somehow, because they are probably some of the best decal solvents I've ever used. Right, so usual what? So we've got some of Tamiya's standard tube. That's the matter version, not the traditional glossy one. Black painted spring, a bag of screws, a screwdriver, some nice tyres with very nice tread pattern on them. I'm not going to open this one because otherwise I tend to throw the screws everywhere and be really annoyed with myself. And polycaps, as we'd expect. So, yeah, nice, as always. Also, so we have a little bag. Staples. Forever picking these out of my feet if you're losing on the carpet, or out of bits of a hoover or something. Getting very careful in the old age to pick them out and bin them. Anyway, so clear screws. We have two. Typically, and the red one is in its own bag. Red one, as I said before, reflector lens, tail light lens, beautifully moulded. Yeah. Clear parts. Tamiya's clear parts are getting better and better. They were always good, but recently they seem to have got clearer and sparklier. I think they're changing their process for polishing their tooling. That windscreen is just stunningly beautiful. We have headlamp lens parts. That's that tail light part that goes inside the red one, and there's texture to that. You can see rear lamps and head and front lamps, indicator lenses, marker lights. Yeah, really nice. That really nice. It's got 2025 on that screw. That's interesting. So rather than put the release date on it, they put the manufacturing date on it. That's cool. That's a little detail you don't often notice. Okay, so this is the silver sprue. Generally this will be engine parts and ancillaries. Oh, and we'll cover those staples again later on. So we have fuel tank. This fairing that we were talking about earlier for the Japanese ones, I have to say I'm not a huge fan of that. That takes me back to a long time ago, Kawasaki's and things like that. Not a big fan. Sprue A and Sprue B, which are conjoined in the packaging. That's interesting. Sprue A, Sprue B. Exhaust bits. Remember this is this radiator protector that's specifically for the Japanese market. Kit version, so that's got a very nice CB etched into that. Got a cap there. That does look nice actually. You can see why they've given you a mask for that. Head stop. Yeah, that's really nice. I feel like somewhere along the line they've upped their game in recent releases. The sprues are cleaner, the polish on the parts is better. So I'm talking about with the clear, then just a little bit. I don't know. It's like they've changed their process somewhere, and it has improved it. Some really fine bits on here. Lovely. Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, but the one nice touch is they've gone with a single part front mud guard rather than having it split down the centre line, which is always a bear to deal with the join on. Okay, you end up with a little tab, moulding tab on the back, but that's nothing to remove, nothing particularly hard to remove, rather. But that's really nice. Let's zoom that back in again. See what I mean about polish? You don't really need to do anything. You might want to put a key on it, just a slight sand with some very fine Trizact or something like that, just to give it a key, but I don't think you necessarily need to. And the benefit with lacquers is you could almost lacquer straight onto that. So LP70 they're recommending for the body colour, which is mica silver, which is also the same as AS, I want to say AS11 silver. Does it mention that? They just use TS17. Well, I know that's not the same. That's gloss aluminium, and it's nothing like the LP70. But there. So that's the front hugger, mud guard, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this bag's got 2 screws in it. I'm trying to keep this my video time down a bit because the last one really did rattle on, but there you go. Okay, so interestingly, talking about how the finesse on the finish, there's texture on the engine block parts. That's really nice. Head, yeah. Handlebar, cross member, separate handles, calipers in 2 parts. front fork. They're done with a slide mold. Be a light seam I would have thought down the centre line of them, but nothing you should worry about yet. As I say, it does surprise me that they haven't done a turn metal fork set for it, but I don't think, as it's black on the real bike, it's not necessarily the end of the world. Yeah, they're very nice, aren't they? That's lovely. And then we're on to wheels and frame. Here we go, wheels, frame and trailing arm. Some of the airbox parts on here as well. And wheels, those wheels seem lovely and fine. Really nice finesse on the spokes. These are the bits that go over the screw heads as well to hide the screw heads. That's really cool, that. Some beautiful detail as we come to expect of them. And here we go, second to last bag. Staple. Cool. Airbox seat cushion. That's been textured really nicely. There's a distinctly tool texture in that, which it's not going to focus on, is it? Possibly. We'll give that a go. That looks alright. Might tone my they tell you to use LP5 satin black for that. Personally, I'd probably dab a tiny little bit of something into it just to take the blackness off of it. But that's really quite nice. That two-part chain's good. Gives you the sense of links and spindles. That's that rear tail light piece that builds up. That's beautifully detailed. The wing mirror mounts look very robust and very, very nicely done. They're really cool. Yeah, definitely all there. I like that cooling fan. That's going to look really cool. You see what I did there? And that leaves us with this last bag. Now this is my bugbear. I looked at this through the bags earlier before I did the video and was like, we have a split tailpipe in chrome. That's going to be an interesting join line. It's going to be a real bear to hide. So I don't know. I'll take it off the sprues and try it for fit. But there's a bracket piece moulded into this one that overlaps into that one there, look. Are you telling me that there'll not be a visible join line on that? I need to find the pictures of the real bike's exhaust and have a little look-see. These mirror faces are absolutely stupendous in chrome. Look at that. Wow. This is actually probably some of the best chrome I've ever seen in a Tamiya kit, so I am loath to strip it. So I really struggle to replicate that, even with some of the better chrome products. I am currently waiting on the Tamiya mirror finish stuff. A friend of mine and I have been discussing this, and he's got it and he's waiting to bring it to me from the continent, and he was testing it, and it's definitely a chemical cure type material rather than a paint. So that's going to be interesting to play with. See, there you go, look. These are the fork inserts. So they've moulded them with a slide, so they're hollow all the way through, constant in width. The openings are even all the way through them. Can you see that? See what I mean? No. Look at that chrome finish on those. They'll look beautiful on them forks. Definitely shan't be stripping anything I don't have to with this chrome. This piece is some kind of shield that fits onto there as well. I'm gonna have to suck it and see, I think, aren't I? Hopefully it won't need anything. I'm just intrigued as to why they've chosen to do it that way. There you go. There you go. So we have another Tamiya product that is at Tamiya level. Their design and engineering is always that little bit above the rest. The quality of the material they use is always the very best. And they turn out product that you just cannot really fail with. If you follow the instructions, test fit, understand what their intention is for you to do with it. If you do that and you paint that with an airbrush or whatever and get a good finish on it and you take your time, there is nothing in that kit that you shouldn't be able to deal with. Quite looking forward to building it. The fact that I've got 5 other projects on the go in this workshop at the minute that all want to be done reasonably soon means that it won't be done straight away. But when it is, I'll be talking about it both on the Interesting Modelling Company and on here and on my lives. So hopefully you've subscribed, followed, whatever the current jargon is. You can tell I don't do that very often. And I will see you around. Thank you very much. Enjoy your time.